after the Patriots finished last season with a losing record, while, at the same time seeing Mr. Tom Brady capture ring number 7 with the Bucs, former NFL linebacker LaVar Arrington says he believes Belichick now must prove he can win without Brady, saying, quote, "That seat is warm for Bill Belichick, and that might sound crazy for some people, but Bill Belichick has to have a good season this year." And you know why? Because there are whispers. It was Tom. It was always Tom. It couldn't have been anything else but Tom. And Bill Belichick has to show before he gets too far away from Tom Brady leaving that it was not Tom Brady, that it was in fact and indeed the system of what Bill Belichick built in New England. Okay, Kimberly, did last season prove that the Pats' success was more about Belichick, or was it more about Brady?
The idea of whispers, who's whispering? I mean, we're talking about it, but I don't think Belichick is really sitting up at night like, oh, everybody thinks it was Tom and not me. Is he on the hot seat? No. Is he putting himself on notice? Probably, because he's Bill Belichick and he's really competitive. He's always been that guy before Tom, pre-Tom, post-Tom. Belichick is going to be that same guy. Look, they went 7-9 last year. By all accounts, that was their first losing season since I think 2000. They're picking 15th in the draft. The Patriots are not accustomed to doing that, but at the same time, the Patriot way, I think at the end of the day, it's an amalgamation of both of them. I don't think, those two existed in a vacuum together and their best traits played off of each other. That was a beautiful thing. Now, Brady got to do it in Tampa, bring a similar mindset down there and have a little bit more fun. But you think Belichick is really worried about job security or worried that, people don't think I'm a great coach anymore? That greatness has been solidified. He will go down already as one of the greatest coaches ever. Yes, does he not want to go 7-9 again? Of course. But after COVID, all those opt-outs, Brady leaving, you got to replace a future Hall of Famer. Like, come on now. Like, I understand any team in this league, if you don't have the guy at quarterback, you don't have a lot. And I understand, like, you can make this about Belichick Brady, but that's just a common denominator in football. So I expect the Patriots to bounce back and Bill Belichick to be, he's not even worried about what we're saying right now.
Big facts. I heard Steph Curry say something at All-Star that perfectly describes the mentality of repeat champions, right? Like Bill Belichick. And Steph Curry said, "I have a lot to accomplish. I don't have anything to prove." And I think Bill Belichick, he's 68 years old with 6 rings, just 1 year removed from Tom Brady heading, to the Bucs. In no world do I think that Bill Belichick should be on the hot seat right now. We all know that the pendulum has swung to Tom Brady because he just won a Super Bowl, while the Patriots, like you mentioned, Kimberly, finished the season with a losing record. You're right. I think it was like the first time in 20 years. Mm-hmm. But Tom, he really targeted Tampa Bay knowing that he'd have weapons in Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, plus bringing his boys back like Gronk and AB. And Tom, knowing that the defense had real potential, we saw how that defense delivered and got better as the year went on. Meanwhile, the Patriots obviously were 7-9 and on a major struggle bus. A lot of times we talk about the highs, but the lows of the pandemic season were sort of an example with these Patriots league high COVID opt-outs. So when you're a player totally of Tom Brady's caliber, he can absolutely steer the reins of his career and control his own destiny. But when you are tasked with rebuilding an entire roster, that can absolutely take time and more than 1 year. That's why I don't really think the hot seat is maybe the conversation about, the draft picks and seeing those pan out. Maybe that's the area of concern, but I would not put the hot seat on him.
To paraphrase the great DMX, Bill Belichick is not slipping and falling and can't get up. Are we actually saying this about Bill Belichick 1 year post Tom Brady? LaVar Arrington, are you actually putting out a guy that has won 6 championships in 20 years, 1 losing season, and all of a sudden Bill Belichick has to worry about job security and calling U-Haul to pack the boxes to leave his house? Is that what LaVar Arrington is doing on FS1 when it comes to Bill Belichick? Bill Belichick does not give a bleep about what people think about him other than Robert Kraft, the owner of the Patriots, who pays his salary. That's the only guy he cares about. Of course, he does not want to go another 7-9 and have back-to-back seasons of not making the playoffs. But really, is that the kind of clickbait we're trying to do at the expense of the play to Bill Belichick by saying, hey, well, no Tom Brady. If he doesn't get it done this year, Robert Kraft may be looking at another head coach. Let's just stop this madness. In the words of the great D.L. Hughley, what? That's what we're talking about with Bill Belichick after 1 year? Did we not see what the Patriots did this offseason to make sure they're not going to go 7-9? There are plenty of people that are looking at the Patriots and the moves that they made, bringing in 2 tight ends, bringing in 2 wide receivers. They're going to improve that offensive line. They're going to get guys back on defense, and they bring back Cam Newton. Now, if you want to say Cam Newton's in the hot seat, there's no doubt about that. That's not new news here. But Bill Belichick on the hot seat? Really? So let me get this straight. We know that it's always going to be to try to a separation that was more Belichick than Brady, more Brady than Belichick. It depends on what side of the fence you're going to be on. How about being on this side of the fence, and it's the truth? Both of those two were terrific together for 20 years. They won 6 world championships. Bill Belichick did get lucky. Nobody saw this Tom Brady being a 6th-round pick. He's the greatest player of all time, in my opinion. But at 1 year post Tom Brady, did you think the Patriots would be a Super Bowl team without him? Of course they weren't going to be. But hot seat? LaVar Arrington, dude, you're a Penn State grad. You know better than that to say that kind of thing, being a Penn State grad, LaVar Arrington.
I think it's interesting, Belichick, like I said, he doesn't care what we think. That's one of the things I absolutely love about him. But I think going into this year, he's excited about I don't know. I think I don't want to say reinvigorated, because I think he's ultra competitive. There's a different level to him as a coach, right? But the idea of, okay, we had the guy at QB for so long. We did all these things together. Now, what can we do differently? What can we challenge Josh McDaniels to do differently? Like, we as an organization, we as an offense, we as a team, how do we stack this up? Because right now, Buffalo, they're the darlings of the division. And it's only been 1 year that the Patriots really have slipped. So I think Belichick is just taking a step back and looking at the whole view and realizing, he's the greatest of all time as a head coach, but there's still room for improvement. And he's determined to have a winning season this year, regardless of what we or LaVar Arrington say.
The quiet ones are always the dangerous ones because they don't have to put it out there what they're doing or how they're going to go about it. The quiet ones are always the dangerous ones, no matter what.
Well,
real G's move in silence like lasagna.
Wow, I love that. I love that. Look, Bill Belichick, while he may be working in silence and maybe he doesn't care what everyone has to say, but here's the deal. The Patriots have never missed the playoffs in 2 consecutive years. They missed it last year. They definitely will not want to miss them this year. Otherwise, Bill might have to start listening to what people are saying. All right, we're going to leave the conversation there because we have a whole lot more coming up on First Take. The draft is just weeks away, and many believe the Niners have their eyes on Mac Jones with a 3rd pick. But find out which prominent athlete says Justin Fields should be San Fran's guy. Plus, Kevin Durant versus James Harden. Which former MVP is more important to the Nets' success? That and a whole lot more coming up on First Take.
It's not the same guy anymore. Please don't lose the intensity. Keep the same intensity. Same intensity. You don't make any sense. Not showed up to school with a dashiki on.